Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to The Caring View, the online social care chat show available on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, we're there most probably. Live every single Tuesday. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, give us a follow on social media. If you do subscribe to us on YouTube, you will never miss out on any of our videos, any of our extra things. And find us on our podcasting site as well. Go to Anchor FM. In fact, easy enough. Go to our website. You can find everything on there. The views we discuss tonight are of our own and not our respective companies. That's usually a disclaimer to get me out of the doo-doo because my mouth has no filter. But just so that everyone's aware, that's what we roll as. Mark, I've not seen you in what seems like forever. How are you?
Yes, not too bad. Yeah, it's funny because just before the show went live, I was thinking to myself, even compared to last week, still seems like it was a long time ago. But yeah, 2 weeks. How was your annual leave? How was your social media detox?
It was so good. It was so good. I'm gonna put this out there. So I did a post on LinkedIn today, ironically, about how great it was not being on social media. But it's weird. Social media has, like, on one hand, propelled us, I'm going to say us because it's helped you and many others into the careers that we're in. It gets our voice out there, it gets us known, and it's wonderful. But it's also very time consuming, and we feel like we've got to do so much, and we see everyone else's posts and we think, oh, what else can I put out? The pressure of creating content, it just gets too much. And so I literally just unplugged myself. I did a Neo from the Matrix, put myself out for 10 days. I had a couple of blips, but I recommend it to anyone. Even if you just do it for 5 days, Monday to Friday, and include your weekend, it is fully recommended. It's trying to find that balance of being plugged in but being able to switch off. But yeah, no, it was very, very good. Did a lot of sort of well-being activities. So yeah, and obviously I didn't really WhatsApp much either, which, wasn't really an intention, but I found once I put social media away, I wasn't touching my phone, so I wasn't even checking WhatsApp that much. So it was a really grounding experience, I would say. Very nice.
I think people are definitely putting social media to one side a lot more. I think a lot of celebrities are coming out, aren't they? And people obviously follow what they're doing and saying, actually, we're having days where we're just not having it. I think a lot of them, I think it was Kate Winslet was doing an interview this week, was saying that her kids are not on it, she's not on it, like they just don't have it. And people are like, well, how do you do that? And she's like, well, we just don't have it. And she was like, all those moments happen.
Millions in the bank, and, we don't need people to invest in us, and, blah, 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 blah. These bloody celebrities who get us all hooked on social media and then do one. Hey, how nice of them. Oh, dear. So what is new, Mark? So we've got a pause in asymptomatic testing coming in 31st of August, I think it is.
Yes, we do. Yes. I don't know how I feel about it, really. On one hand, I completely am for it. I think like the likes of you and I and everybody else in society are out there doing whatever, living life, and people working in care homes and domiciliary care are still, routinely tested. But on the other side, I kind of think, well, we are working with vulnerable people. Naturally, we should have a duty of care to protect them safe. Yeah, what do you think about it?
So the views on this show are of our own and not the companies represent. Do you think the government's doing it because of money? Because let's not beat around the bush. The cost of living in this country is through the roof. Inflation is hitting a new high every single month. The energy price cap, well, I think we just need to accept that it's going to hit nearly 6,600 by April next year. Things are costing a lot, and tests cost a lot of money. So for me, logically, the wiser solution, the improving job satisfaction solution would have been continue asymptomatic testing, get rid of masks so that relatives can visit without masks and staff cannot have masks and we can see faces again and, get that sort of vicarious enjoyment back in life. Wouldn't have cost the government a penny to do that. but it would still cost them in paying the test. So part of me does wonder, I wonder whether there is a testing element to this, because we also get, don't forget cases are on the rise, don't forget we're coming out with a new booster, and it's sort of mixed messaging. So my only concern is come October, November, the government go, oh, actually, cases are huge now, everyone needs to go back to async testing. Are care providers going to have enough tests to be able to do that? Is there going to be a rush for tests? Are we going to have a shortage? And then our relatives going to be put on the back burner again, because actually we need to prioritize staff over relatives. So then everyone's going to stop visiting again in care settings. Very cynical to say I've just come back off a well-being week, but that is my sort of mind flow when it comes to the cancellation of the testing. But as a carer, I personally would have relished it. I hated testing all the time. I understand the reason behind it. I get the point of it. But yeah, it really did become a chore and not that great.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I do think that, what are we? We're like the end of August, the last day of August tomorrow. In September, I can't help but thinking like 2-3 months' time, we'll be rolling out testing again. And I think when we look back when they first rolled out testing and the nightmare it was, I can't help but think there'll be new providers in the sector by then. It will just be a complete ball ache again. But yeah, I don't know why they don't just continue it. Even if they just drop down the testing, yeah.
Well, let's see what happens. I mean, we've obviously got the Rights Residents group, and we are hearing the conversations. We are seeing what providers are saying. We'd love to hear your comments on this. If you are watching this, should we be continuing asymptomatic testing? Is it a time for it to completely go now? Obviously, when we talk about asymptomatic testing, we're not talking about not testing people who are presenting symptoms of potential COVID. It's just that whole routine testing everyone constantly twice a week or whatever it was. So we'd love to get some viewpoints on that. Other than that, Mark, we've got Care Sector's Got Talent in 2 weeks. We will have a new winner in just a little under 2 weeks' time, which is going to be quite exciting. We will post links and comments to that in our comment section for you to be able to go and see it. I think people can go and get tickets for that.
Yeah, tickets are available. Went live on Eventbrite, I think it was, during the week. I'll find the link now and I'll pop it in the comments. But yeah, you can. It's in Birmingham, so yeah, I can't wait. I think the buzz is going to be electric. I really can't wait for it. I think it'll be a great
It is going to be so good. And obviously, if you can't make it, it is going to be streamed live worldwide, I am led to believe. And then finally, don't forget, we have got our new website up and running. We are looking for guest bloggers. If anyone wants to do some blogging, are you doing something interesting at the moment? Is your service providing something? Are you providing something for carers? Are you a carer wanting to provide advice for other carers? Are you using care and you want to give your viewpoints as a sort of opinion piece? Do let us know, and we'd love to feature you on our guest blogs. And we will be building up a library of resources on there. Everything's completely free. There is a donate button because Mark and I do this for free, but we want to be able to provide services for other people as well. But all of the content, the resources we provide on that website will be free as well. Right, let's get into it, Mark, because this is a big week for us. It's a big week for social care. It's a really great initiative. So what are we talking about tonight?
Tonight, we are talking about the recognition of care workers, which, yeah, I think, nobody can without a doubt say that actually we don't want to recognise care workers. We're also going to discuss Professional Care Workers Week, which is fast approaching. So we've got some amazing guests with us tonight. So I'll bring them in. So we've got Jenny Mack from the Care Workers charity. We've got Liz Blacklock from Lapis Care, who is also working with NACAS. Sorry, me and Adam are both putting them in and putting them out. We've got Georgina Turner from Skills for Care, and we've got Dana from Lapis Care, who is a care worker. So good evening, all. How are you all?
Hi, good, thank you.
Hello, good, thank you.
Did we want to do a round robin of a bit about who you are, what you do in kind of social care, what your jobs are? Jenny, we'll come to you first because you're at the top between us. I don't know where everybody else is on your screen, but in my screen, you're at the top of it all.
My name is Jenny Mack. I am marketing manager for the Care Workers charity. I was a care worker, then I did activities, then I moved into marketing, and I've also written a book for social care. So, yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much. Welcome. And I'll go around the screen as it is on mine. And Liz, good evening.
Good evening. My name's Liz. I'm the Operations Director, newly appointed of NACAS. Through my work with my own business, Lapis Care, because I'm still a care provider, and our view to try and change the social care sector.
Thank you very much. Dana, good evening.
Hello. So my name's Dana Baker. I work for Lapis Care. So I work with Liz. I've been working there for about a year now. So it's my first job working in the care industry. So I'm out on the front line working with all our lovely clients, and Liz knows how passionate I am about it. So yeah, I really enjoy what I do.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Georgina, good evening.
Hello. My name's Georgina. I'm Director of Engagement at Skills for Care. And we focus on adult social care workforce across England, working with employers to help them recruit people, attract people to work in social care, and then develop their skills and confidence with a focus on leaders and managers as well. So thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you very much for joining us all. So I guess the first question really should be what we're here to talk about for the first half is around Professional Care Workers Week. Jenny, I'll bring you back in just to explain, because obviously it's hosted and run by the Care Workers charity. So over to you.
It is indeed, yeah. Professional Care Workers Week was our CEO Carolina's idea. Originally, she actually worked at NACAS, and so NACAS held that for the first couple of years. And then when Carolina moved to the Care Workers charity, so did the ownership of Professional Care Workers Week. So yeah, we are running that again this year. It's from the 12th to the 16th of September. There's been some mix-ups on the dates around the place because there are old pictures still hanging around, which is actually probably my fault, but I'll take the blame for that one. So between the 12th and the 15th of September, we've got a variety of different talks, panels, all online that anyone can access. Information on the website about that, and all the tickets for those are through Eventbrite. And then on the 16th of September, which is the Friday, we've got a whole bunch of people going to the Peak District to do a sponsored walk. So yeah, it's going to be a great week talking about care workers, care providers. There's a whole lot of different panels. We've got well-being, we've got diversity, we've got digital inclusion, recruitment and retention, and then obviously the cost of living crisis, various issues that care workers are facing at the moment. We've got a lot of big names in the sector getting involved and doing their panel discussions and talks. So yeah, it's going to be a really exciting week.
Thank you very much. Adam, you look like you're going to come in.
No, I was going to say, I think what I love about it is the fact that we are now starting to use the P word when we talk about carers, and usually the P word is peanuts. Pay them peanuts, you get monkeys, and that awful saying that's usually associated with social care. But now we're going into professional. And that's what really matters now, is actually recognizing people as professionals. I think kudos for the actual itinerary of what's going on. I think there's quite a bit for people to get involved in. I'll share the Eventbrite links, which people can register their interest in those activities moving forward. Digital inclusion being one, but equality, diversity, and inclusion. I'm a huge sort of advocate for it, and we're sat on our chat show tonight with 6 white people, and it's so much that we need to be able to do to showcase actually. The strongest asset of our country is our diversity, is our cultures that are all coming together. So I think it's going to be an incredible week, Jenny. I think it's a great thing for Care Workers Charity to be able to do. So what's the goal? What do we want to achieve with Professional Care Workers Week? What's the sort of the idea, the vision of Carolina's?
I think obviously it's awareness. Like you're saying, professional is not a word that's used often when describing care workers, which is tragic, really, because having a briefcase and a suit doesn't make you a professional. Doing something that other people can't do, it makes you a professional. A professional golfer. There are millions of people who can play golf, but it doesn't make you a professional. There are millions of people who could be carers, but they don't do it as a profession, as their job, and that it's so much harder than people realise. and they don't get enough credit. So I think a lot of it's about awareness. It's about raising the status of care workers. It's about people thinking, actually they are professionals. But yeah, a lot of it for us as a charity is to raise awareness of the charity also, because at the moment, sadly, we're finding that the applications for grants are coming in faster than we can fundraise. And at the moment, we're not being able to give out as many grants as we'd like to. So for us as a charity, that has got to be the bottom line. We really want to raise awareness of ourselves so we can help more people. More people know about us, we can help more people. But equally, on the other side of that, we need more people to know about us, to donate and support us, to then support the care workers.
Yeah, and I really do urge everyone to get donating. Winter is coming, and we don't want people having to prioritise food or heating, or people should have, where we are a Western world who is supposed to be a first world country. It is absolutely ridiculous that we have got so many people living in poverty in this country with fear of eviction. Not many people have enough savings in place that if their house was sold automatically, then they've not got enough savings to go and put deposits down on other rents. So, we really do need to be supporting our workforce as much as we can do now. How do we get involved? Who can get involved? Is it a limit to who can be involved? Let us know.
Everyone can get involved. And no, there's not a limit. You can attend every single event if you choose to. We would love that. Again, through Eventbrite and through our website, you can see the full itinerary. I will just tell you right now. The sessions are between 9:30 and 10:30, then 11 till 12, then 12:30 till 1:30, 2 till 3, and then the last one 3:30 to 4:30, and that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then on the Friday is the trek, so we have no events on the Friday. But yeah, it's a full schedule, so there are lots of things to get involved with. Some for carers, some for the managers, and some for people who are just interested. So there's a bit for everyone on there.
I think that's incredible. And, I always say this, we are a show and a platform for everybody, and we want to entice people in. So if you're watching this and you don't currently work in social care, go and have a gander. You might actually see it and go, actually, this is something I want to be a part of, this wonderful community of amazing people. Georgina, Skills for Care, obviously you've got to be behind this. It's something that is desperately needed, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And Jenny, I had a look at the schedule today, and it's just fantastic. Kudos to you and your team for getting it together. There's a lot of work in that. I love how, as you've just touched on, I think it's looking at kind of recognition from different angles, from care workers themselves and managers, and as you just said there, Adam, people outside the sector who want to find out more. So it's fantastic stuff. The time is absolutely now to boost recognition of the sector. So yeah, we're incredibly pleased and proud to support it. We're doing a couple of sessions during the week, which is fab, and I know the team will be tuning in to watch. There's lots of interesting stuff for us to watch as well.
Now, I think it's just seeing everyone come together. It's wonderful. So, Liz, NACAS, National Association for Care and Support Workers. I hope I've got that correct. I know Paul will slap my hands if I've got it wrong. What is NACAS's view on this? Because obviously, this is something that you are supporting our workforce on a daily basis. You are the association for them. So, how important is it for us to look at this professional work as we can actually get this momentum going now? Just going to give you a pre-warn. You're on mute.
There we are. NACAS's view is, I think we're absolutely right. We have to do everything we possibly can to improve care workers' lives. We can't afford to lose any more care staff as it is. We're in a tricky situation now, and I think, and it is this new crisis is really frightening me individually as a provider on a national basis. So I think it is completely important that we support people and we raise money so anyone that hits a crisis and is unable to work and a job that they potentially love but have to stop, that would be tragic, because we can't afford to lose good staff. We're struggling now. We cannot afford to lose any more. So I think we all have to stand behind it and support it as best we can.
I completely agree. And I think one thing historically I've always supported the Awareness Week. And I think as a care provider, it's something, and I'll bring you back in, Liz, to talk about the kind of things that you would do. But it's just about using the opportunity as well to showcase that to your team, that there is an Awareness Week for them, but also to then show that your appreciation to your team, the chance to maybe give handwritten letters or cards or token gestures and bits and pieces. So are you doing anything at Lapis Care, Liz, this year?
Well, we do. Well, you might, maybe Dana's a better person to ask for that one. But I mean, we do things quite frequently. We don't just wait for 1 week as a provider. I think, and Dana, you'll have to back me up or not, depending. We please don't not. We do things quite frequently, where as and when we see the need. I mean, we had a family day last year. I mean, which would have coincided with the timing. But if I'm absolutely honest, I don't think all care workers charity week. I just think, what can we do? What's going on with the team that we need to support? I will always I often send handwritten notes around to people. Last week we did an ice cream run in the hot weather. Literally, and they were literally melting by the time I finished because it was so hot. But you know, I love the idea of the Care Workers Week, but I must admit, it's not just about it. It's a bit like Valentine's Day, not being Valentine. You know, you can say I love you to someone, whatever. I suppose it's more pertinent. We have got the care badges, and I think now you've brought it to my attention, we will try and do something for the Care Workers Week, but I don't, as a provider, specifically wait for that time. We're doing it throughout the year. We have, but I have to admit we've been really busy, so it's going to have to be deferred. Well, we were planning a family barbecue for the end of September. We had one last year. We had a whole family day at the office in the grounds. We had bouncy castles, and you know, because I'm really keen that people's family time is their own, so they don't want to go to yet another work event. Let's involve the family. And Dana came to that, I think, didn't you, Dana?
Yeah, I think we're really good at bringing the team together. I know everyone that works within the company. They're really easy to talk to. And like at events, we're just like a big family. Everyone's welcome. But yeah, I see what Liz is saying, as well as like everyone has their family and their family time. So it is hard to like organise a spare time for everyone to get together. But we do try to as often as we can.
So,
I suppose there's an element of you know, we talk about this a lot. I do a lot of work with commissioners and providers in different areas, and we don't want to be engaging with the people who are engaged. You know, at the end of the day, we know they're going to get engaged. So it's great that Lapis Care, you know, do all of this stuff, and it's wonderful. We're actually, this week, and forgive me if I'm misinterpreting this, Jenny, we actually want to target the people who probably don't do this. So we can actually go to them. Maybe should we consider this? And I think it's great to know that there are providers out there already doing it. But it's also a way of just saying, look, if you're not getting engaged now, why not? Come on, let's get engaged. Dana, so you are new to social care. This is your first social care job. Why the heck have you joined social care? Tell us. Tell people why.
Well, actually, I cared for my mum towards the end stages of her life. And right at the end of her life, she went into Countess Mountbatten. And when she was there, it really opened my eyes to how important care is and how it involves the person receiving the care, but also their family. So they really looked after my mum. You know, anytime that she needed personal care, we'd go out the room and they'd take care of all of that. But also us as a family, they always wanted to know how we were. You know, nothing was ever too much. And I think from that point, I just had my second daughter. I was on maternity leave, but I was only working at a hotel then. I knew that wasn't the career for me. And I thought, this is something I want to get involved in. You know, I want to make this difference in people's lives and be there for the family.
I think that's honestly, it's whenever anyone's cared for a family member, it really is an eye-opening thing. It's an eye-opening situation. I was there with my dad through numerous times in his life where he was unwell, and you know, if anyone's seen me speak, they'll know that my dad was the reason I got into social care. So it's, you know, it's. I'm sorry you went through that with your mum. But I think it's great that you've been able to turn that into going, actually, if I can do it for one person, I can probably do it for more. And you're lucky in the aspect that you already know it's not about a job, it's about people. And that's what really matters, to see these people as people.
Yeah.
I just say, honestly, hats off to you, Dana. I think it's completely commendable. So, recognition, Professional Care Workers Week. What do we do? How do we improve the recognition for care workers? We're still at national living wage in a lot of places. In fact, a lot of places, if you're under 25, you'll be on national minimum wage, which I can never get my head around. I think we're all doing the same job. We should all get paid the same. Our new Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, he said he's going to the Philippines and China, and he's going to bring everybody over, and he's going to fix the recruitment crisis by doing that. But then when we look at the shortage of occupation list, we're expected to pay them more than we pay the people in this country. So what do we do? Georgina, Skills for Care have a lot of data on the workforce at this moment in time. What are Skills for Care seeing around the recognition of care?
Well, I think I started by saying that the time is now to kind of push this recognition piece. And when I said it, I think I meant, well, I think we've got more of a platform actually than we've had ever before. There's still a long way to go, I know, to get people to really understand what social care is and the amazing job that social care workers do. But it's improved. I think there's more understanding than I've ever seen in all the time I've been in social care. The other reason, though, I think the time is now is that we've got significant challenges across the sector. And I think recognition, so care workers recognising their own professionalism and how brilliant they are, what difference they make, the sector recognising the role, so leaders and managers, and also people outside the sector. And I think those are the three lenses of recognition that we need to look through. I think that is part of the solution to the challenges we face. There isn't, unfortunately, a solution, but I think it's part of the solution. So, yeah, I mean, what we are seeing in the data will be of absolutely no surprise to any of you or people who are watching. We're seeing, vacancy rates on the rise. That's been the case for some time now, this kind of gradual rise, but we've seen a spike in vacancy rates over the last 12 months, which will be, again, a number of factors. One of them will be the kind of cost of living and linked to pay, but also I think the effects of the pandemic. So it's a challenging time. I think it's probably going to be challenging for a while. And so it's fantastic to be talking about solutions in the form of that kind of piece around recognition. So pleased we've got this week coming up, but I do absolutely take the point that Liz has made, that it's recognitions for life, not just for Care Workers Week, or to coin a phrase.
Yeah.
Was it an RSPCA bumper sticker that or something along those lines, wasn't there? Dogs for life, not for Christmas. Yeah, no, I completely. And it is, we're all doing surveys, we're all writing reports. We've got the People Plan white paper due out in November this year, and nothing's changed. Absolutely nothing's changed in the recognition side of things. In fact, we've reached more people, but the negativity is still there. There's still so much of actually we're still not seeing this recognition. We're still not seeing this change. And I think a lot of people are getting fed up with the government and politics. And, we seem to be making some sort of progress. And then Boris has done another Boris and is now actually not Prime Minister, but he is Prime Minister. And we've got a parliament, but we don't have a parliament. And it's all just bonkers. And I always feel like social care is left to the end. And Mark and I were discussing, I think on the show before I left, Mark, that we've got these two people vying for leadership, and none of them had actually spoke about social care or health and social care as part of their leadership bid. I think Liz might have pulled something out last week. Again, I abstained from most news last week as well. But we're not even on the talking point of our future Prime Minister, our future leader of this country. So it's time to rally the troops together now in the community. Jenny, you're next. Oh, sorry, Mark.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I think it is the same kind of conversation over and again. But what I've noticed on social media, especially in the comments, is that I do think the tide is turning with members of the public, because I think, I don't know, like I live in Essex. Essex Live the other day, there was one article at, say, I don't know, like 11 o'clock in the morning about a care home and abuse. And then about half an hour later, another negative story about some kind of social care within Essex. But the comments were like, will you give it a rest, like social care being through? And I definitely think when I see kind of the media conversations, the members of the public are kind of protecting care workers and kind of like, this is enough. You've given enough of a bashing. Actually, these people have worked through the pandemic, blah, 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 blah. So I definitely think the tide is turning, but fingers crossed anyway. Adam, back to you. Oh, you were going to ask Jenny something.
I've forgotten how to do this. I've had a week off and my brain just doesn't work anymore. I don't know how to do that, to do our podcast anymore. It's what it is. Jenny, you're an ex social care professional, shall we say? Let's use that term for the rest of the show, maybe. And obviously, we've worked together a number of times, especially through the Social Care Innovators. Have you seen change? Do you think change is happening? What's your view?
I think it is. I think we've maybe hit a speed bump with the current cost of living crisis, because now everyone's feeling the strain and everyone's suffering. That phrase "overall in the same boat" comes up a lot. But the thing is, we're not. Like, we're in the same storm, yeah, but some of us have got yachts, some of us have got canoes, and some of us have got nothing and we're drowning, you know. And care workers are the ones that they've been in this storm since the beginning of this pandemic, and they are still doggy paddling and still keeping others afloat. And for people to say we're in the same boat because we're all facing this cost of living crisis, it's just ridiculous, because we're not all the same. We don't all suffer the same, even if we are in the same storm, because it's the boat you're in. You know, have you got a boat at all? That's just the way my mind thinks, like visually. But it's care workers have been going through this storm since the beginning of the pandemic. They're still going through it now. It's just one thing after another. And people who are sitting on big salaries or even semi-decent salaries, I mean, myself, I have a fairly decent job and I feel the nip of the cost of living crisis. But for me to say that I'm in the same boat as someone who's earning the national minimum wage or the living wage, which again, I'm like with you, Adam, how can there be less than the living wage? Are the people on the minimum wage not living? How can that be a thing? But yeah, I just think it's horrendous that we even have to exist as a charity, to be honest. I'm getting rid of my own job, but it would be lovely for us to not even have to exist, because if you think of a charity, if you think of someone who is in crisis and needs support of a charity, you generally don't think of someone who works 40, 45 hours a week. And sadly, that is what's happening here. It's people who are working their butts off that need the support of a charity. It's not people who have, you know, nothing. They really work hard and they just don't get the support that they need. So,
yeah. And let's be honest, things are, and I really don't want to put a dark cloud over this, but I recently got a new car. Well, it's not arriving until November. Thank you, Brexit, for screwing up absolutely everything. Can't even make new cars nowadays without having to wait 12 months. But it comes in November. I work from home, so it's not an essential for me anymore. It's, you know, so we can go see family and everything like that. But it's costing me just under £500 a month to have this car, you know, which is a lot of money. But that's because interest rates are going up. Now, if we're looking at home carers who are paying through the nose for petrol at this moment in time, probably using runarounds like I used to, I'm literally, my runaround's breaking at the moment in my driveway, then we've got costs of repairing cars on top of that. The Bank of England are just going to continue putting up their interest rates, which just means that any credit that anyone takes out, they're going to be paying more on interest now moving forwards. Now, who relies on credit most? Those who are swanky rich people, who are the celebrities giving up on social media now because they've all found juice cleanses and, you know, coffee colonoscopies or whatever Gwyneth Paltrow's pushing nowadays, or the people who are actually not earning that much. And the Bank of England are putting this interest rate up to get more money back, and actually we're taking it from the poorest still. So we've got home carers who are going to struggle to keep fixing their cars. Let's say they can't afford to fix it. They then can't afford to buy a new car because we're envisioning a bank of interest rates hitting 7-9%, which is just horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. So what do we do? What do they do? I know that's a really sort of doom and gloom on this, but it's true. If we're not careful, come winter, we are going to have a workforce who can't afford to feed their own families and are going out there every single day. My partner and I have this moan, you know, we'll go to a restaurant, we'll go to a shop. In fact, we went to a place local to us week before we had our week off. And I walked into the shop and the first thing the person said to me was, "What are you doing in here?" And I was like, hasn't service gone down in this country? You know, and then, you know, my partner's like, yeah, but that's because they don't get paid as much. And I was like, well, that's fine. But in social care, we don't get paid that much. And imagine if we just went around hitting people all the time. Oh, it's fine. They don't get paid that much. Let's, let him off. So these people in social care are doing so much every single day with the best professional attitude that anyone can bring to their career. And we're still draining them of their money. I just can't get my head around it. Mark, you're home care predominantly, aren't you? So how is this going to affect your home carers?
I think I'll apologise now because the church bells are playing. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but yeah, I think petrol prices definitely around this area have not reduced. So we're still on 169, 170p per mile, gallon, whatever it is. I don't really know. It's just obviously 169, which I'm told is expensive. I don't know. I just fill up my car until, I put 40 quid in and turn it off, and I don't pay attention really to the litre. I think it is. And I think one thing I was going to say when Jenny was speaking that I was thinking about is I've seen on kind of a number of manager groups talking about recruitment. Oh, don't worry about it. People are going to need to get a second job, or they're going to need to get more. And actually, if social care have increased their pay rates to £13, £14 an hour, then they'll leave and they'll come here. And actually, you're then talking about kind of the cost of living as we get into kind of the winter time. And I kind of feel like we probably won't have a workforce or a lot of those people because actually we'll have burnt them out, because actually we've utilised them so much because actually they need the money. So we'll be like, oh, do you want to pick up a shift? Do you want to pick up a shift? Do you want to pick up a shift? Come Christmas, they're going to be so burnt out. They won't have a work-life balance. And I kind of look at some of the people that I see apply and they've got a Monday to Friday job, then they're applying for weekends. And I kind of feel like, where is your break? And it's not even like their Monday to Friday job is like a sit down in an office job. Like it's a hardcore, like, not even a 9 till 5, like an 8 till 6 job. And I do worry about people's well-being and mental health as well. So,
if only we had a National Care Association, a National Association for Care and Support Workers to support the mental health and well-being of people, Liz. So, I mean, NACAS, what's your position here?
I'm still very, very new to NACAS, so I feel slightly concerned. I'm going to not say something or not, but I think if you go into NACAS's website, we're constantly looking at ways that we can support carers in the industry. And Paul and I are completely discussing it, as we go. And there are lots and lots of member benefits, but we're always open to suggestions. And I know Paul's always willing to have discussions. He's tried very hard to have discussions with the leaders of the petrol companies. We've also been discussing energy. Mental health is always quite a tricky one, and I have to be honest. I have to be completely honest, is that I'm not still 100% sure in terms of the benefits, if there is in terms of anything for mental health there. I think mental health is predominantly becoming more and more concerning, and it's more evident in just how many people experience dips in their mental health, and how little it actually takes now to have a dip in their mental health. And I'm talking about from the highest, right down to the, member of society in management and senior roles. I think anyone that said they don't have it would be lying, to be fair. And I think that's absolutely crucial. Certainly from provision perspective, mental health first aiders, I think, is a priority. And I think if we're able to maybe, and I'll put it to Paul, offer that mental health first aid training, so every company maybe has a mental health first aider, I think that would be amazing. And it is so hard because everyone's experience is so different, isn't it, when it comes to mental health conditions? It's like when you say with dementia, when you've met a person with dementia, you've met one person. It's the same with mental health. What my experiences are of mental health issues would be completely different to, say, yours, Adam, or yours, Jenny. So it's really hard. So we're always open to suggestions. And as we get more members, it's really important that we engage with those members to say, could we try this? Could we try that? Or have you got access to such and such? And then we can engage with those particular people to see if we can. Just going on to carers, we are currently reviewing membership, because obviously we really want people to join NACAS. But again, with the cost of living, we're very, very aware that actually even a couple of quid out is more than some people can manage. So we are very much addressing those issues too. So And that will be something we're doing in the very near future so we can encourage as many care workers to belong and spread the word. And I know that I've got my work cut out, and this is very, very new to me. But I mean, from a provider point of view, before the energy crisis, I thought from the petrol, we've started offering e-cars. But now we've got the energy crisis, so I'm not sure that's going to be very beneficial. But it's always constantly looking at ways and trying to almost reinvent the wheel. What can we do to make things better? And it is really challenging. And I wish, well, I think we all wish we had the magic answer. But certainly maybe I should get a Twitter page now, Mark, actually. But I want people to engage with me and come up with constructive suggestions, and we will always do what we can in time. Might not happen overnight, but I think it's people engaging with us and us all having that conversation together. And I know that I'm working with Adam and others, in order to professionalise and open the conversation and get the buzz going with the professional and getting carers recognised. What many carers say to me is not actually the bells and whistles, the benefits of work, an individual employer that matter to them. Is actually, and I think Dana will back me up again here, it's the recognition by their fellow peers within healthcare, and not so much social care, but healthcare, and this constant, you're just the carer mentality. When I approached my staff this week, knowing I was coming on this programme, saying, what does carer recognition mean to you? It wasn't the the minimum wage and the the nice little things and the family and the thank you card. Yes, they mean a lot. And I did post on LinkedIn this morning, but it's actually recognition and understanding, respect by fellow healthcare professionals for the job that we do and the knowledge of the clients that we have. And that is a huge, huge thing within home care. I don't know about care home, but I think within home care, it's a massive thing. And it is one of my team's real bugbears, including mine, I have to say. And that's for us, that's as much care recognition as all the physical stuff that you can do as an employer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just talking about mental health support, all care homes, all home care companies are insured, and the majority of those insurance companies, so there's only 2 or 3 in the market, but the top 3 all offer mental health support to their staff. So I think it's one of those kind of untapped things. Jenny, I'm going to bring you in.
Mark, sorry, I should say, we do have the EAP actually at NACAS, which does offer mental health and support.
Thank you very much. Yes. Jenny, I know the Care Workers Charity offer mental health first aid, don't they? And then Georgina, I'll bring you in just to talk about kind of the mental health tools that Skills for Care have got. Jenny, over to you.
Yeah, we do. We do offer mental health grants as well, and a lot of that is used for mental health first aid or training, like Liz mentioned. It is fantastic. It's the kind of training that you can have one person in your workplace do that training, or 2 people do that training, and then they can share that information with others, because mostly it is about noticing signs in people, changing behaviour and mood, where to, you don't get a mental health first aid course and all of a sudden you're a psychologist. It's very much like doing your physical first aid course, where you're the starting point to assess what's going on and pass on to someone who knows better. But it's a fantastic course. We do that through the Red Umbrella, and we've had a massive uptake on that. Again, more interest than unfortunately we can provide for, because we need more fundraising. But yeah, it's something that we do. Our grants have increased. I was just looking for the post there. In July, we awarded 55% of crisis grants in June. So that tells you how things are definitely getting worse for care workers out there with crisis.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I've just said to Mark that I probably won't talk too much tonight show because I have a week off and then he can't shut me up. But I do also want to say, when we talk about mental health, and Liz is right completely right. Everyone has mental health. We've all got arms, we've all got legs, we've all got physical health, we all have mental health. And I think we also need to recognize that a lot of mental health is a secondary aspect to the cost of living crisis. So whereas people might not have said that, actually, I don't usually have bad mental health, you take away their disposable income and make them live paycheck to paycheck, that's going to affect their mental health, which is why the Care Workers Charity is so important. We need to be able to make sure that we can make people be supported financially to help reduce the mental health on that aspect as well, because everything is cyclical and everything's involved together. It's just, I get really fed up with there not being the money there for care workers. Sorry, Mark.
No, that's okay. Georgina, Skills for Care. What support is there for care workers, deputy managers, registered managers?
Yeah, so thinking particularly about well-being and mental health, we've got a number of webinars that we've run, and they're still available to watch, download and watch, with a focus on people's own well-being and developing well-being in the workforce. So I definitely recommend them to have a watch. They're all quite quick watches. In terms of learning and development around working mental health, we distribute a fund called the Workforce Development Fund, and you can employers can access funding from that fund for mental health first aid programs. So that's another one to look out for. And then I think, I mean, in a way, and this is probably a bit of a glib answer, I think that almost everything we do really is about mental health and well-being. Taking Adam's point, really, that we shouldn't be talking about a crisis point. You know, to do the job of social care well, you need to be incredibly talented and have a really strong value base. But I think to do it well over a sustained period of time, there's no getting away from the fact that you need support, ongoing support, and I think that can take, I would say this, but I think that can and should take the form of learning and development. But and that's obviously a big thing that Skills for Care do. But we're also, it's the context and forum that you do that learning and development. So one of the big focuses for us is providing networks, really support networks for registered managers, deputies, CEOs, nominated individuals, to create that space so they can share best practice and understand what other service leaders and managers are doing. But certainly over the pandemic and I hope ongoing, they became a space where people could just say, I'm really struggling, I'm having a really, I'm stuck on this, or I'm not sure what to do about this. And we had fantastic feedback. Those groups became a place where, you know, you knew that you weren't isolated, I suppose, and you could get practical advice. But I think just that sense of community. So that those networks across England, there are all the details on the Skills for Care website. But for managers, whether you're new to the role or you've been in it for a long time, I definitely recommend accessing that kind of peer support, because I think it's really crucial at all times, whether you're feeling the pressure or not. Really, I think it's just a great opportunity to get support for yourself and support your peers as well.
Thank you very much. And I've just shared the link to the manager local network. So there's also deputy ones. I'm still part of mine, even though I'm not a registered manager. They allowed me to stay. And I must admit, I'm in the WhatsApp group and I find them a great support, you know. And there's always pinging with people asking questions and just double checking things. So I'm very conscious of time. Dana, I wanted to bring you in. Just kind of wanted to move the conversation on to recognition. Obviously, as the only care worker here, why is recognition important to you in your role?
I think it's important that we are recognised as professionals, because, like we've touched on, a lot of people will say, "Oh, I'm just a care worker," sort of like it's a low-valued job and you're not important. And I feel that we are really important. Like Liz was saying, we work closely with our clients. We know them just as well as the families do, and we work with the families. And a lot of the time, we are the first people to notice when their needs change, you know, in their care needs or medical needs. Often, if there's like a medical emergency, we are the first people to notice the change and raise the alarm. So it is important that we're seen as professionals and not just people that go in and carry out personal care and make a cup of tea, because we're far more than that.
No. didn't know where that came off me. I absolutely agree. I think there is this kind of misconception, isn't there, that actually all care workers do is sit down with somebody, have a cup of tea and a good old natter, and actually there's so much more than that. I think we did have TV programs, didn't we, kind of just after the pandemic, that kind of shone a light on what social care was really like.
I think there was a documentary, wasn't there? I think I watched it.
Yeah, there was a couple. There was one with Jodie Comer and then one with Ed Balls. So we've spoken about recognition and, you know, about writing personalised thank you cards or letters. What other ways can we recognise staff? I thought maybe we could go around robin of how we could recognise people. Adam, I'll come to you first. I know you like to catch me off guard normally, so I'll do it to you. How can we recognise staff?
How do I sounds really ironic, but being genuine and getting to know them, you know, an honest thank you is essential. I used to do handwritten letters every sort of now and then to people in a card, you know, as a thank you. And it wouldn't be every Christmas or it wouldn't be every birthday, because it becomes a bit of a sort of, oh, I expect it now because it's Christmas, I expect it because it's my birthday, and it becomes disingenuous. But actually getting to know your team, you know, it's important, no matter who the people you are supervising is. I always knew that one carer's little lad was really into, I don't know, Marvel or something like that. So I would always bring in old comic books or old pullouts and things for him. And it's really just about acknowledging who they are and not being patronizing, like, oh, I know it's really tough. I know. And then going home and finishing at 5 o'clock, knowing that they're working till 8 o'clock and back in at 8 o'clock the next morning. You know, we are in this role for a reason. And as managers, we're not supposed to be there on the floor all the time, but we've got to be able to acknowledge that we are in a privileged position. And it's about being genuine. It's about being honest and transparent in our approach with that. Obviously, yes, give them more money and everything. That's essential. But I think if we're talking simple cultural changes that everyone can go out and do tomorrow and just swap how they work, it would be about that empowerment and being honest and open.
Thank you very much. Jenny, tip for improving recognition.
Yeah, I agree with Adam. I sometimes think that people get it very wrong with recognition. They make it really generic, and actually I sometimes would rather have nothing than have something that's very generic and there's no thought put into it. What we used to do was have an awards ceremony, but make it very silly awards. You know, most likely to be a coffee snob might be Mark. Most likely to cry if they chip their nail polish might be Adam. You know, that just goes to show that you know who your staff are, you value them, and you're having a little fun with it, and each person would get a little gift or a little prize specific to them. It might take you a little longer than just whacking, you know, a box of donuts on the table, but it means more. I think sometimes people can get it a little bit wrong when they just go really generic with it.
Absolutely. And I love the personalised awards, because then everybody kind of, and not saying that everybody should win, but I think then, like you said, actually you can bring out the comical side. You get to know the team. For the team, it makes them know that actually you do know them as a person and not just as a number. Dana.
I think that it's really important that we're getting feedback from our clients, their families, also other staff as well. Liz and Lena are really good at passing back any feedback that we get. And especially for me, it just makes me a lot more confident in my role. So, you know, even if it's small feedback about, you know, family members that we might have cared for that day and how they've gone in and they might have talked about it, it's nice to hear that and know that we're making a difference.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I think one thing I would say with that is I've worked for so many companies where the thank you comes in with maybe a box of chocolates or something, but then the office team eat the chocolates, not the care workers that have been given that kind of appreciation. And I kind of, in those companies, I've always been like, why don't those chocolates go to the care worker that got that thank you card, not the office team that hasn't actually supported that client person?
And on that, Mark, do you not think that too many people still just have a complaints procedure instead of a compliments and complaints policy? You know, we've got to be pushing the compliments. We want our teams to know how bloody awesome they are. And why should we hide that information? You know, let's tell them. I think it's a great point, Dana, and it's so so refreshing to hear that actually come from yourself as well, you know, because we'll sit there and think, is this what care workers need? Is this what care professionals need? So I think that's a huge takeaway point for anyone listening to this. Thank you.
Georgina, top tip for recognition.
So I suppose I'd go back to saying I think we need to think about recognition through a number of lenses. I think it's really important that care workers recognise themselves. You know, I think a lot of that confidence has to come from within, and you know, that's easy for me to say and harder to do. But I think there's all sorts of things that as leaders and managers we can do to help people develop their own confidence. And then you know, you don't need anyone else to say that we think you're a professional, because you know you are, and that's really powerful. I think. I think, you know, it's great to have these points of celebration throughout the year, but throughout the time there's loads of evidence to show that, you know, culture is critical in staff retention and kind of enjoyment and productivity and all those things. And that simple stuff, like others have picked up about, kind of really knowing your team and involving them in decision making, you know, having those discussions as a team. And then I think there's something, again, it's easy to say and harder to do, but I suppose they're kind of changing the conversation a bit about how people talk about social care. I think within the sector we can be quite quick to talk about what we're not instead of what we are, what makes us so unique as a sector. You know, it shouldn't be how we compare to health. It should be just what social care is. And I think that kind of, you know, then starts to sort of ripple out into how, you know, more widely in society we're thought about as a sector. So I don't have that wasn't a single top tip, I'm afraid, but I think we've got to look at it from different angles, and keep chipping away. But certainly starting with those positive conversations about with people who work in care, just making sure they know the difference they make. It's Dana's point that just after a hard day, knowing that you've made a really big difference is really, really important.
Thank you. And you talking about kind of chipping away at wider society, I also think, you know, if somebody's got a compliment, popping that onto your social media platforms and publicly thanking them, you know, not because actually it's going to generate likes or content, but actually because that person can then see that actually as a company, you're actually recognizing that compliment's gone wider. And then, I mean, from a public perspective, then actually it does, you know, chip away at kind of that whole social care and what it is and bits and pieces.
Well done, Mark, because you've helped me remember something more practical that I can suggest, which is at Skills for Care we do Good News Fridays on all our social media platforms. So just that, if anybody's got a really good news piece about something the member of their team has done or they've done or anything that's going on in their service, if you send that in via Twitter or Facebook, we'll definitely be really happy to share it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We'll find that and then we'll pop that in the comments. Liz, last but not least. Oh, you're on mute, Liz.
I think engaging with the staff as an employer is really important. Having that conversation, you know, being down on their level, so you see them you're working at the same time and level with them, as well as making sure you just listen to them and valuing their opinions and their thoughts, and engaging with them. And if they come up with you know, not actually listening and hearing what they're saying and acting on it. So in that duty of candor thing for everyone is valid for everyone. If you get something wrong, put your hand up and say you're wrong. And I think, you know, letting people see you're human, you're not just a director at the top of the chain, you're actually there with them. And I think that means an awful lot. And taking their ideas forward. And it's all about respect, isn't it? And working as a team. I think everything you've just said, I mean, everything, you know, you've all said obviously counts. But I think coming at the end of the line, I think that's the one thing I would say as well.
Thank you very much. And I think for me, my tip, because I know Adam will throw it back to me or something, so I was making sure, and a bit like Liz, so I kind of feel like I've dropped myself in it at the end of the last one. And I completely agree with all the tips that everybody has said tonight. I think for me as well, it's being flexible with our employees. Like, they work long hours, the majority of them. And actually, if somebody puts in a flexible working request, actually doing as much as we can to accommodate that, or if they're child is having the first day of school, or it's their big 18th or 13th, or even their 21st, or whatever it is, actually trying to be as flexible as we can. Because actually they work 364 days of the year solidly. Actually, one day that they just want off actually will make a massive difference to them. So just having that flexibility and that give. Adam, final question before we close tonight's show. I'm conscious of time.
Yeah, and I feel like we're just every week we say this. We're just scratching the surface of what what there is to talk about. You know, we've not spoken about unpaid carers. We've not spoken about PAs. We've not spoken about underage carers, you know, child carers who are looking after their families. You know, there's all of this recognition that we need to think about. And I spoke to a couple of members from TLAP, and there is this concern that we talk about professionalising social care and professionalising the care sector, and there's a fear that that's actually going to put people off being PAs or make it harder for people to be PAs. And I think when we talk about PAs, people automatically think, oh, the unregulated part of social care, and there's this snooty sort of look down on them because they're not CQC registered providers, they're individual providers. So there's all of that we need to talk about. So my question, and I'm going to direct it directly at Dana, and then anyone else can jump in, because I think it's important to be able to ask this with you here. I'm a huge advocate for language, and language being very important in what we do. So I don't, when I was a provider, I didn't use the word staff. We had team, we had colleagues, and we didn't use residents, service user. Everything was very inclusive. And I'm a pusher for care professionals. I think care worker, care assistant, I think we need to add some sort of professionalization to it. But as a care professional, as I would call you, Dana, does it matter to you what we call you? Does it matter to you what your job title is? Does it matter to you the language we use about you?
Yeah, to me personally, it does, because I feel like when you say to people, oh, I'm a care assistant, it's instantly, oh, you're just a care assistant. If it was like, I'm a professional health and social care support worker, it sounds a little bit more professional. So yeah, it does appeal to me having sort of the way we name what we are, I guess.
It's just something that I thought I need to ask this, because there's no point, and again, it's an extra top tip. Just like Georgina said, you've actually just reminded me of something now, that it's important to be able to involve our workforce and our teams in the decisions we're making. There's no point in us going, I think this needs to happen because I think it needs to. Actually, you might go, Adam, I think that's a rubbish idea, and it's not something that I actually want. This is what we need as a workforce. So rule number one, include our workforce in the decisions and the plans moving forwards. I just want to put it out there, if anyone wants to add on to it, language, how important do you think it is to what we do, to the recognition of our workforces?
Just quickly, I thought Liz was going to unmic. I think, Dana, spot on. We do need to involve the workforce. And I think one thing that annoys me so much is we hear people that are CEOs or control and have that kind of decision making that say, well, let's call people professional care workers or professional, whatever they want to call them. But then actually you go on their job advert and it still says care worker or support worker. Actually, if we're going to preach and say, actually, we're not going to call people support staff, or we're not going to call them care workers, we're going to call them professionals, or whatever it might actually the terminology be, is actually then roll that out through your organisation. Don't publicly, just because it's on social media, say, actually, we're going to call them this because we want to professionalise them, we want to recognise them, but actually in the rest of your kind of the job adverts and your policies and procedures and everything in your job description, don't then just still have support worker and care worker, because actually then you haven't made that change in your organisation. You've just made that publicly because it might generate a few likes and retweets. Anybody else want to come in? Sorry, it's a big bugbear of mine. I hear it all the time. Can see everybody nodding, but it irritates me so much that as a sector we kind of push this and then we don't follow through, kind of the thing.
I mean, you'll make me go one further, and it really annoys me when we have things like Pride Month and stuff like that, and they go, oh yeah, we're really inclusive, You've changed your logo for a month and that's it. And I was on Argos earlier on today, and I will call them out for this, because I'm a huge believer in trying to use gender neutral terminology and gender neutral languages. And I bet you, if I looked and found and dug hard enough, Argos will be going, oh yeah, and we're really supportive and we're inclusive. And yet when they talk about their payment methods, they talk about them as fellas. Oh yes, and we take these fellas as well. And I'm like, believe what you're saying. Values are very important, and if you're going to put something out there, you need to kind of follow it up. For anyone who's not watching this live on video and is listening to it on podcast, I now look like I'm about to tell a horror story at some sort of slumber party, because I've actually forgotten how close to autumn we are, and I've not turned my lights on. So this is for our visual viewers. Mark, should we call it a night for the show? And I'm going to ask you, what are we talking about next week? Firstly, thank you all for joining us. Dana, especially, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been really great to hear from you. Jenny, Professional Care Workers Week is, remind me of the dates.
12th to the 16th September.
Boom. Everyone get involved. It is going to be fab. Obviously, Georgina, Skills for Care are going to be there and getting involved as well. So please do go take a look. And NACAS, go and have a look there as well. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Mark, was that enough time for you to go and have a look about what we're talking about next week?
I already had it up and waiting, because I know that you ask me every week now. So yeah, I think just to echo what Adam said, thank you so much to all of you that have joined us tonight and given up your evenings to join us. So next week, we are talking with Mervyn Eastman and Shirley Ayres, and we're actually talking about sex, intimacy and sexual well-being in older age. So I'm actually really looking forward to it, because I think it's a bit of a taboo subject still, especially when it comes to dementia. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that conversation.
Yeah, no, I think anyone who is interested in the rights of people living in social care, because it's not just, Mervyn will probably tell me off for saying this, it's not just the elderly, it's anyone living in social care. I think it's super important to understand that sex is a human right. Sex is everyone's right, and we should be able to have these conversations without automatically going, oh, we need disinhibition training in our services because such and such is expressing, this interest in sex. There has to be ways around this. There has to be ways people can live their lives as normal as possible. So a really great paper out by Mervyn and Shirley, and I can't wait to discuss that next week. So thank you everybody for joining us. This has been The Caring View. We are live every single Tuesday at 7:30. So until next week, we will bid you adieu and speak to you soon. Don't forget, if you do want to guest blog, get in touch with us via the website, and anything to do with the cost of living, anything to do with the asymptomatic testing, please do send us your views. We'd love to hear from you all. So good night, everyone. Take care and God bless.